This is lesson number 3 in advancing your craft. Let's just take a moment to review what we've covered so far a little bit. Some of you might be enjoying the break from your tools, while others of you might be going through a little bit of a withdrawal. Either way is just fine. When you do start to bring your tools back to use, something that many people will want to do, you'll notice that the tools feel very different. They are more powerful because you have a better understanding of them than before and a clearer idea of their usefulness. It's important for you to review your goals. Not all the time, but somewhat regularly, because it's very challenging to achieve your goals if you don't know what you really want. When you keep your goals updated and write them down, you can understand them and adjust them as needed. If your priorities change, your vision evolves, you change your written goals because this helps your deep mind feel a sense of completion regarding what it is that you desire. It's important for you to include any new goals that you have and to let go of any old goals that have either been obtained or that you've moved on from. Make it a habit to update your goals regularly. It's important to remind ourselves that the deep mind doesn't make decisions. It simply takes our words and actions as requests. If we act or speak cruelly, for instance, our deep mind believes that we want more cruelty. The status quo is its domain because it thrives on habits and routines, and that's what makes change difficult. The deep mind tends to keep us in the very reality that we have been teaching it. Magic helps us to rewire these parts of our mind in order to achieve new results and to achieve real change. The deep mind tends to stick to what it knows, and so to work effectively to create change, it's helpful to have a system. In this particular course, you do have a system, and your system is very simple. It's to dedicate time in the morning and the evening, within 2 hours of waking and sleeping, to focus on your spell work. And if you have a consistent routine in doing this, you don't need to spend a lot of time on it. It takes about 10 minutes to move into a trance, speak your intentions out loud, and see your desired outcome on a loop in your mind. And then at night, you go to sleep with a simple phrase that reinforces this desire of yours and imprints it on your deep mind. Now, regarding deities and spirits, for some people, it might be difficult to work with the idea of these pure forces rather than specific deities or spirits. And it's tempting to just use familiar terms like Mother Earth or Father Sky, or named deities, God or Goddess. And there's nothing wrong with those names. Those names are fabulous and wonderful, and we're not saying that you should stop forever. Us taking a break from those names is a method of discipline and training to help us understand those powers better. And then when you return to those terms, if you decide to later, they will resonate more deeply with you. One of the biggest benefits of this practice is that it helps us to stop begging or pleading. A lot of us claim that we don't beg, we don't plead. Yet, if we're honest with ourselves, we'll recognize that there are times when we do try to bargain with God or with a spirit or with a deity. And that happens because we tend to see them as entities separate from ourselves. And when we make deals or plead for their favor, it reinforces that idea of separation. But when we recognize that the divine is part of our own consciousness, we come to the understanding that there's no need for that. You'll realize that the divine powers never desired for us to supplicate, beg, or plead in the first place. And if you think about it, commanding in this context is a very witchy thing to do. Last week, we started to apply the concept of commands. If you think about the New Testament, when it says, ask and it shall be given, knock and it will be answered, seek and you will find, that's the same idea. In biblical terms, ask means command, but in a polite way. Again, like saying, please pass me the salt. It's not a big deal. You're not begging for the salt. You're not questioning your worthiness if you deserve to have the salt. It's a straightforward request. Please pass me the salt. Thank you. There's no fuss about it. Also, we talked about it's important to tune into your dream world, because if you're not tuning into your dream world, it's difficult for you to get out on the astral plane very easily. We're going to talk about astral travel a little bit more today, but it's important to understand that astral travel isn't difficult. It's very simple, very natural, very easy. Unfortunately, many books on the topic make it hard because either they don't know what they're talking about or they want to sell books so they think more data is better. But astral travel is the most natural thing that you'll ever do. You do it every single night, and you usually do it several times during the day. You just didn't know that that's what it was called, and you didn't know how to stay conscious and control the experience. We'll get more into that in a little bit. We also talked about the rule of gold, which involves spiritual and mental alchemy. Essentially, it means treating everything in your world, people, circumstances, possessions, as if they are extensions of and or reflections of yourself. This principle is key to creating positive experiences for ourselves. And I encourage you to think about and explore this concept even further, because it is something that can yield quick results in your life. Recognizing that everything you experience is a projection from your deep mind is so powerful. When you get upset with someone, for instance, you're essentially telling your deep mind to provide more situations to be angry about. Similarly, if you exhibit fear in something, you're signaling to your deep mind that you want more things to be afraid of. So when you notice yourself reacting in a negative way to a situation, it's very helpful and powerful to immediately change your mindset. For example, if you received an unexpected bill and started panicking, thinking, I'll never be able to pay this, you're reinforcing that particular negative belief. You're teaching your deep mind that that's what you want more of. But you could instead notice that and immediately shift your perspective by saying, I'm grateful that this bill is being paid quickly, easily, and in a fun way. Just this simple change starts to change what you're teaching your deep mind, and it actually reconditions your mind to believe that when bills come in, everything gets paid in an easy, enjoyable manner, regardless of the external experiences. And it's important for you to realize that to your deep mind, nothing is inherently more or less challenging to manifest than anything else. Everything is equally simple. It's all based on what you teach it. Our surface mind is responsible for planting those seeds. Another topic I asked for you to focus on is the magic minute. And if you tried it, you might have found that it's a little more challenging than it appears on the surface. Even carving out 1 minute in the middle of the day, even when you have an alarm reminder, isn't always as easy as we expected it to be. But it's a very worthwhile practice. Also, we talked about your intuition and listening to your inner voice more this week. And I hope you've been able to do that and start following your instincts and acting on your hunches. And the more you engage like this with your intuition and the more you act on what it gives you, the more you become a finely tuned intuitive instrument, which allows you to live a magical life rather than a life of effort and struggle. That's our review. Now let's move on into today's lesson. Let's start by discussing the concepts of blessing and cursing. There are times when cursing is appropriate, and that's not what we're discussing today. And I have several lectures on cursing that'll give you a different perspective. It's important to recognize that everything we do comes from our desires, and that our desires drive us. The emotions attached to our desires indicate where we're headed. There are 2 types of emotions, tense and relaxed. If you're feeling angry, fearful, those are tense emotions. Therefore, the desire that's attached to those tense emotions is the desire to cause pain. Even if you don't recognize it as that or want to see it that way, it's exactly the truth. The desire to cause pain is inherent in any desire that's attached to a tense emotion. When you desire to inflict pain or even self-destruction in your life, that's a type of cursing. On the other hand, when your desires are aligned with relaxed emotions, you are blessing. But desire is the catalyst. So you have to ask yourself, what am I desiring? Is the emotion attached to my desire tense or relaxed? If it's tense, I'm cursing. If it's relaxed, I'm blessing. Most of us go through life blessing and cursing on autopilot without having any conscious understanding of what our intentions are. We become products of the collective mindset. We bump into various blessings and curses in our environment, and without any understanding, we just react to them accordingly. It's like being a leaf in the wind with no clear direction. People talk about, oh, I'm cursed, somebody's cursing me. I take that with a grain of salt, because to really effect a powerful curse, somebody has to focus and discipline their mind. And it's important that they do this within a trance, or at least as much relaxation as possible, to access the deep mind. And they have to do that while harboring the desire to harm. They have to relax in the presence of tense emotions. That's very challenging, if not somewhat impossible for most people, unless they're psychopathic. That's not the majority of people. An effective curse is not as easy as people think it is. A lot of people say they're cursing. You can see even memes about it, burning particular candles or incenses or sprinkling graveyard dust and things like that. But to make a magical effect happen, you have to lower your mental shield. You have to get into a deep, relaxed, trance-like state, and then access the emotions to want to destroy that person while staying in that state. It's a very challenging thing to do, and that's why most curses of that nature are not as prevalent as people believe they are. Also, it's important to understand that the superconscious mind does not curse. It's not in its nature. It seeks to avoid harm because it embodies the life force itself, which does not cause damage. The life force promotes growth and vitality. And some people may view nature as cruel due to the predatory-prey relationships that are in existence where nature is. But from the superconscious perspective, none of this is harmful. It actually supports life and supports evolution. Those who curse intentionally lack the advantage of the superconscious mind's power. Everybody curses at some point. It's just part of living in this world. However, it's important to be aware of when you do and try to change it. Blessings hold much more power because they connect to the superconscious mind and allow access to the deeper levels of relaxation. Relaxed emotions linked to blessings are much more pleasurable and easy to embrace, unlike the tense emotions which embody pain and come with so much tumult. It's far more powerful to bless than curse, and this is why blessings hold more weight and make a greater and larger impact. And the good news is that no matter how often you may have intentionally or unintentionally cursed someone or yourself, you can change those circumstances more easily with blessings than you might think. Pay attention to how you react to situations in your life. Notice the words you say when something negative occurs. Do you find yourself thinking, oh, of course that happened. Why wouldn't it? Or this always happens to me, or nothing good ever happens to me, or those kinds of thoughts. That kind of thinking and reacting creates or reinforces a habit where you expect bad things to happen. And what do you think the deep mind will be manufacturing for you? When you catch yourself saying phrases like, oh, of course this happened, this always happens to me, you can easily turn that around into a blessing by simply saying, I bless this situation. The phrase, blessed be, is really all that you need in order to transform every curse into a blessing. But you have to understand what you mean when you say blessed be, and you have to mean what you say when you say blessed be. Your deep mind is a loyal servant that seeks to fulfill your faith, whatever you have faith in. It isn't limited by time or space or distance. so it can reach into all areas of the known and the unknown universe to ensure your reality aligns with your faith. Think of an old-fashioned photograph in the old days, before we had digital photographs. When you developed the film in a dark room, it showed exactly what was captured on the film. If you didn't like that picture, you needed to take a new one. Similarly, your mind's dark room brings to life what your deep mind has captured. You can't blame the film for showing you the wrong picture, just as you can't blame the ground for producing thorns if that's what you planted instead of plums. To create new outcomes, you must bless your situation, which is akin to planting a new powerful seed. Sometimes when somebody annoys you and you feel angry or irritated, it's important to recognize that feeling and choose to respond differently. When something negative happens, like a ding on your car, bad news in the mail, losing your job, receiving a tough diagnosis from your doctor, of course it's okay to feel upset. Absolutely. But while experiencing those emotions, do your best to remember to bless the situation. This act of blessing can help you to transform your perspective. If you put the tense emotion and then a relaxed emotion beside it, the relaxed emotion always tends to win out. So you don't have to undo or unthink things as much as you have to place something else next to them. If you place the so-called positive or peaceful emotion and peaceful thought next to it, it will tend to take over. Just like we talked about before, when you plant a crop of wheat, it tends to take care of the weeds, so you don't have to weed your wheat field. Remember that your circumstances are influenced by your deep mind, which can be shaped by your own experiences or by the collective mindset of those around you. We very frequently absorb beliefs and thoughts from our own environment. And by choosing to bless our experiences, we can start to distance ourselves from that collective mindset, reducing its impact on our lives. Think of blessing as a type of psychic penicillin that helps to eliminate thoughts and influences from both your mind and the collective around you. We often think in habitual ways, both individually and collectively. And by blessing our circumstances, emotions, and the people in our lives, we essentially give ourselves a boost, maybe like a B12 shot, to heal what feels unhealthy. Remember that any tense, negative experience starts in the mind before it can manifest in the body, in the finances, or in other areas of our lives. Therefore, it's important that we work from the inside out and start with our minds. We know that we have three aspects of our mind. We have one mind with three different functions: the conscious mind, the habitual or deep mind, and the superconscious mind, often referred to as our divine or higher self. Start by making it a habit to bless everything around you. For instance, when you're cleaning, as you touch each item, say things like, "I bless this counter," or "I bless this chair." If something is bothering you, like a malfunctioning coffee maker, bless it. If you've spilled something and you've made a stain, bless it. You'll notice that things start to clean up more quickly if you just take charge of your mind rather than allowing the circumstance to dictate more upset. As you practice blessing your surroundings, you'll also notice that the physical world responds positively. Using the power of blessing makes you more effective in your interactions with the world than cursing it will. Remember that cursing tends to come back to you, amplified, but so does blessing. What's really happening is that everything is interconnected. The thoughts we focus on tend to expand. So by the time they manifest in reality, it feels as if they've returned to you multiplied. Keep in mind that blessing holds much more power than cursing because it is connected to the superconscious mind. Regardless of any past negativity or problem, the act of blessing can outweigh all of those cursed thoughts and help them fade away. But you need to stay committed to the practice. Let's talk about astral substance and proto-matter. In angel magic, it's called Shekinah, but we're not calling it that in this course just because even that can smack of superstition if we're not careful. Think of matter and energy as the same thing. Matter is just energy condensed enough to be visible, while spirit is matter vibrating at such a high frequency that it is no longer seen in the physical universe. There isn't a clear divide between energy and matter. They are interconnected, like two poles of the same battery. The invisible and visible realms are thus linked. They are essentially the same, and this is what we refer to as astral substance or protomatter, which represents the pure potential for existence yet to be manifest. And as you begin to embrace the principle of this substance, you'll start to realize that everything you desire is available to you here and now. There's nowhere that this substance doesn't exist for you or for anybody. It's already within you, surrounding you, and flowing through you. All the substance you need for anything you could ever possibly want is already present in your life right now. You don't need to search for it in another place. It's not something that has to come in the future. It's not a matter of it being difficult or easy, far or near. It's just there in the present moment. But divine substance doesn't automatically become what you desire because it operates according to law. You have to actively command it into existence. That's your responsibility. If you don't, the substance will just be shaped by whatever happens to be in the law of averages. If you allow yourself to, you'll end up following whatever the group mind dictates, and you'll receive what others want for you instead of what you truly want for yourself. So it's very crucial that you learn how to take charge. If you're conscious of your ability to command, you hold more power than others around you. While they may have the same potential, knowing that the substance is there and under your command means that you can change anything you need to at any moment simply by doing it, simply by commanding it. As a result, you're likely to be the most influential person in the room until you connect with other individuals who are practicing these principles. Fairy tales are a great source of magical truth and wisdom, especially the really old ones, many of which have unknown origins. Concepts like pixie dust or magic dust represent this same substance that we're talking about. There's nothing new to create in matter. It merely changes form. The more you realize that astral substance is present with you now, the more you'll see that everything you need is available to you now. It doesn't really matter what you want. Everything is as easy as everything else to substance. The key is to identify what you desire, because without a genuine desire to back it up, you won't fulfill the magical law. If you genuinely want something and you have your mind focused on it properly and let go of all of the ideas that negate what you want, you can harness your abilities to achieve it. Understanding substance means letting go of the belief that your desires are far away and difficult to attain. Once you realize that it's already here, it's just a matter of commanding it to be so. This mindset helps you to expand your magical sphere of influence rapidly, because if you truly want something, it's likely achievable, and it's already existing in the world of the astral. So you make it happen by commanding it. When you call forth infinite substance, you're training your deep mind to abandon the ideas of near and far and difficult and easy. Everything then becomes accessible to you now. Until now, you might have thought things just take a long time or things are very difficult. But once you embrace the reality that this divine substance is here with you now, your deep mind will start to operate on the understanding that everything is easy and available now. Now let's move on to discussing astral travel. You've been working with your dreams thus far, which helps you to understand that when you sleep, your physical body rests and that you can explore other realms. And this is what we call the astral plane, those other realms. It's a vast world with many layers, and instead of memorizing all the different levels of the astral, just think of it as a place your physical body can't access. It's the realm of the mental. It's the realm of the astral. You're going to start practicing moving through the astral plane while keeping your surface mind aware, unlike during sleep. On the astral plane, time, space, and distance don't apply in the same way as in the physical world. You can choose to have these concepts on the astral, but they're not necessary for navigating in that realm. Initially, when working on the astral, you may find yourself traveling from point A to point B because it just feels more familiar. However, ultimately, you won't need to travel anywhere. Everything is just a thought away. So if you want to be in a specific place, you just think yourself there. If you need to be at a certain time in the past or the future, you just think yourself there. Astral travel is a lot of fun. People enjoy it because it feels like flying. And even those who know that they can be somewhere instantly still love the experience of flying and traveling. To make traveling easier, especially when you're just starting out, you might consider using your orb of light as a vehicle. It provides a sense of safety and protection. You could think of Glinda's bubble from The Wizard of Oz. She seemed to enjoy that kind of astral travel too. Using your orb as a vehicle for astral travel is a wonderful idea. You can experiment with different kinds of vehicles. Maybe you want to fly on a broomstick, or just fly through the air in your astral body, or maybe you get sick of flying and you just want to transport to where you want to be. The options are endless, and everything on the astral is merely a thought away. And you can start by just setting aside 15 minutes when you won't be disturbed. You don't need to stay out for long. Just ground yourself, center your energy, conjure your orb of light, establish a light trance. It doesn't have to be deep. You might want to call upon divine guidance or whatever force feels good to you to keep you feeling safe. But remember, there is nothing to fear. You won't be harmed on the astral despite what some might say. Don't let the misconceptions bother you. They're simply misguided. Just go out on the astral in whatever way feels the most comfortable. I do have a full course on astral projection, and absolutely you can take that course. But for right now, rather than going to that course, just try practicing it on your own. Remember that if you believe that the astral is a scary, dangerous place, then you may end up creating that experience for yourself. But there is nothing inherently dangerous about the astral. You're there every night, and you don't even usually recognize it. You daydream probably. That's exploring the astral. There's no need to worry. Call upon divine guidance and imagine yourself rising in your orb of light to a higher plane of reality. Focus on elevating yourself to higher dimensions. For now, avoid moving horizontally as much on the astral. Concentrate on ascending. Pay attention to what you feel and experience as you rise. It's common to lose awareness of your physical body when you do this process, but that's fine. Whether you completely leave your body or not doesn't matter. You can experience astral travel while still being fully aware of your physical body. Or you can experience astral travel while being completely unaware of your physical body. Some people never feel like they fully disconnect from their bodies, but they still navigate the astral quite well, while others may feel like they've completely exited their body and then returned to it. Everyone's experience is unique. The sensation of being entirely out of your body just depends on your personal disposition. You may or may not feel it. Either way is completely fine. Just take some time to explore the higher astral planes. Notice what you see and feel. It might be amazing. It might be wonderful. It might be dull. Who's to know until you explore it for yourself to determine what you experience? As you rise in your orb of light, go as high as you can and then come back and return to your body. Just do it a few minutes at a time. And you can repeat that exercise just 2 or 3 times in one session if you like. It's not important that you be out for too long because it can be tiring at first. And if you ever feel uncomfortable, just reinforce your orb of light and call upon divine guidance for safety and love. And notice that you can always just return to this particular time-space continuum anytime you desire. Tap into the force that helps you feel the most comfortable, and remember that you're always truly safe and there's never any need to worry. You're never going to get stuck outside your body. If you see a silver cord, that's fine, but not everybody sees that. Focus on your experience. If you see something that's typical, great. If not, that's fine too. Once you've had a few experiences, try working with your astral double in the 3rd dimension. Start exploring different parts of your home. Just notice what you see. Make it fun. Make it experimental instead of a chore. Check out what's on the counter and see if what you observe on the astral matches what's happening on the physical. If it doesn't mean that you weren't on the astral. It just means that you tuned into a different aspect of the astral, not the astral double. Keep practicing and exploring to discover this 3rd dimensional part of the astral travel. Once you're comfortable with that, you can use astral travel for all kinds of purposes. It can help you rise into, like we said before, higher states of consciousness, but it can also help you to go check on your kids or your home while you're on vacation. Just avoid spying on others. That's not really cool, as you wouldn't want that. You wouldn't, if there's something that you wouldn't do in your physical body that's an intrusion, don't do it in your astral body either. But if you want to take a trip, you could take an astral trip. Like you could go to Japan, you could go to Greece, find them on the map and explore. As you improve, you may even have meetings on the astral with other practitioners. When I was a student first learning how to do this, I often worked with astral travel. I often worked on the astral with others. Our teacher would set a time and place and ask us to report back on what we saw there. As you get good at it, you'll learn to stay in the right layer of the astral, focusing on the reflection of the physical realm, if that's what you're working on. Remember, the astral plane can feel different. It's like looking through a mirror. Sometimes it can seem dreamlike and not connected at all to the physical world. And as you enhance your skills, pay attention to how it feels to stay in the astral double in the third dimension compared to the other frequencies of the astral, which will feel very different. You just have to do it. It's the only way to get better at it, by taking action. You don't have to wait to explore the astral plane. You don't have to listen to the so-called experts about what the astral plane is or isn't. You can find out for yourself. Remember, the astral plane allows you to visit different areas that can mirror our third dimension. And so you can access this at different times, going into the past or exploring various possible futures. In the astral, there is no strict past, present, or future. Everything happens simultaneously. This means that you can encounter many different futures or even past events. When you explore the past, you'll likely revisit it as you remember it. If you travel to a specific event in the past, you can engage in healing and forgiveness there if it's necessary. You can reconsider decisions you made regarding those experiences, which can significantly impact your present. For example, if you experienced abuse as a child, you could journey back to those moments in the astral, offer a blessing, and observe how that blessing transforms the past experience. This, in turn, can change your current experience as well. Whether or not it actually alters the past itself is debatable, but it's important to note that history is subjective. Everyone has their own version of what happened. So yes, you have the power to change your past and your future. Imagine that you're working on a spell for a better job, for instance. You could enter the astral plane and you might notice a series of steps that you need to take in order to get from where you are now to where you want to be. And instead of seeing those steps as slow or challenging, you could just picture them happening quickly and easily in a fun way as the distance between you and your goal shortens. By working in this way on the astral plane, you can effectively reduce the time that it takes for your desires to manifest. And this is because you're communicating with your deep mind, which resides in the astral realm. When you show it your desired outcome, it understands. The deep mind understands how flexible and changeable everything is, and thus it's there to try to keep your reality intact. So it won't change anything for you until you've taught it to. It's very loyal to you. Remember that exploring the astral can be a very enjoyable and effective way to manifest your goals. Let's move on to talking a little bit more about your pyramid powers. When all of those powers of the witch's pyramid are working in harmony, like we talked about last week, one of the results is that of creating expectancy. The more expectancy you generate, the quicker you're going to see the results. This ties closely to the faith aspect of those pyramid powers. It's like going out to dinner. Just imagine yourself going to a restaurant. Let's say you ordered a Cobb salad, and the waiter acknowledges your order, asking if you'd like anything else while you wait. Maybe you order a lemonade, but you're not worried about whether you're going to get your Cobb salad. You trust. You know it's on the way. Now, occasionally, maybe the waiter might come back and say, oh, we can't serve the Cobb salad because we ran out of avocados. Do you want the salad without avocados or do you want something else? And then you decide, do I want something else? Do I want it without avocados? Or do I really want a Cobb salad? So I'm either going to go to another restaurant or I'll come back on another day when they have Cobb salads again. Normally, though, you are confident in expecting to receive your order. Just imagine ordering something from Amazon. You don't sit there worrying if your package will arrive. You check the delivery date. You know it's coming. Sometimes there's a delay. Sometimes there's a problem. But most of the time, you trust that it's going to arrive. The good news is that your mind operates much more efficiently than a restaurant or Amazon. You're less likely to encounter delays due to errors. Occasionally, you might sense a delay, but that's when you tune into your intuition. You ask yourself what you need to adjust or what you need to do, if anything. Sometimes there are things that need to fall into place in your life first, and your intuition will guide you on that. However, it's rare for the answer to be a flat no. If you have a desire for something, it typically means that you're meant to receive it. Think about that. If I have a genuine desire for something, it means I'm meant to receive it. So as you cultivate that expectancy, you'll find that it mirrors the experience of ordering at that restaurant or shopping online. It's so great to be excited about something coming your way, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, try not to worry about whether or not it will arrive. Worry is like calling the waiter back to your table and saying, I think I want liver and onions, even though you don't like liver and onions, as a way to cancel your Cobb salad. And the waiter obliges and brings you what you didn't want. And that's what happens when we let worry take over. We send our mind mixed signals. We inadvertently ask for something that makes us unhappy. So keep your order as it is. Expect that what you desire is on its way. Do not accept defeat from yourself. Every morning and evening, perform your spells until you either feel like it's complete or you see results. And then move on to the next goal on your list and start working on spells for that. Consistency, that's key. There shouldn't be a time when you stop working on your spells until you reach a point where you no longer need them. At that stage, you're operating on a different magical level where you just simply intend for what you want to happen and it happens. And that's our ultimate goal, is to not need spells anymore, or at least not as often. But most of us aren't at that place, and that's okay if you're not there yet. For now, commit to doing those spells daily. Keep pushing forward and don't stop until you get what you want. If you've been consistent with your magical minute every day, you might notice a positive change in your life. You could think about adding maybe another one of those minutes to your day. It's not mandatory, but it's worth considering. How many times a day can you spare 1 minute? Is it worth it to you to live a charmed life where your superconscious mind is more in control, helping things work out better than you ever dreamed? How much is that worth to you? Would you consider doing a minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes a day? Anybody can easily find 1 minute to spare a few times a day. Now, don't be hard on yourself if you miss that or if it doesn't seem to be working out for you right away. Don't worry about it. But do think about adding 1 minute here and 1 minute there. We discussed last week how the superconscious mind can enter into the deep mind and do the reconditioning for you. Consider the religious symbolism found in every world religion. For example, Osiris, the sun god, descends. Persephone goes into the underworld. Dionysus goes down. Jesus is crucified and descends into hell for 3 days and is reborn. Every religion seems to have its own version of the idea that the superconscious mind descends into the deep mind and brings forth some kind of what they call salvation. So what's salvation? It's such a loaded term. It's about your desires manifesting. If you're hungry, your salvation is a meal. If you're broke, your salvation is money. If you're lonely, your salvation might be a partner. Your savior is essentially the result of your spell work. In all religions, there's a common theme. Your superconscious mind influences your deep mind, leading to outcomes beyond your expectations. And that's advanced magic right there. I encourage you to incorporate the principle of divine guidance into your work, into your periods of contemplation and meditation. Embracing the idea or concept of infinite or divine guidance or infinite intelligence allows you to feel the guidance whenever you need it. You can affirm it. Just divine guidance is mine now. My mind is open and receptive. I'm divinely guided in all ways. Whatever I need to know is given to me right now. Those kinds of commands. When you seek divine guidance, remember that the nature of those powers is to respond. Instead of trying to solve the problem with your limited surface mind, call on divine guidance before going to sleep. Tell your deep mind, divine guidance is mine, and hand your problem or your question over to that force. Let your deep mind know that you are open and receptive to the answer, just as surely as the sun rises each morning. When you wake up, pay attention to either what the dreams were that you remember or the thoughts that you're thinking as you wake up. Very frequently, the answer is clear as day. And if it's not clear right away, it often will just pop up into your mind a little bit later on during the day when you're not actively thinking about it. You know how sometimes you forget a person's name and it just comes to you out of nowhere? The same thing happens with this. Your deep mind might also present a clear sign or what we might call omen, like a phrase on a billboard, a bumper sticker. Even somebody hands you a book or says something to you, and it's obviously the answer to your question. You have the right to command clear, straightforward answers that require little interpretation. Be very clear on that. That's up to you. Set your intention for literal responses to your questions or problems. Sometimes issues resolve themselves without you needing to think about them again, which is very satisfying. But sometimes you need to have some sort of action, and it will be shown to you. So remember to be consistent and persistent. Do not accept no for an answer, because most often the only barrier is in your own mind. The idea of blessing and cursing, astral substance and proto-matter, astral travel, building expectancy, persistence, working with the magic minute, accepting inner guidance. Those are the main points that we covered today, and they are substantially condensed in your handout. So work with those concepts, just continue your daily work, and then start to work on the astral if you can find a little time to do that. So you want to spend some time considering these things. The most important thing is working with your daily spell work, and then also start to consider working on the astral a little bit every day just to get good at it. And remember, you don't have to worry about whether you're doing it right. You've been doing it your whole life. Thank you so much for spending a little time with me today. I so appreciate you. We'll be back next week for Lesson 4. Until then, blessed be.